Okay, so I am back again with another video, and this is a test, just a test. But I'm just putting these out here for informational purposes only, and interpretation is always left up to the own individual, to each individual. So, just wanted to put that out there. So, a couple months ago, I had an assignment to do where I had to study Johnny Depp's chart, and I just started going down the rabbit hole and kept looking and looking, and I noticed something that I had wrote in my report about him and his marriage to ex-wife Amber Heard. Now, the reason I'm bringing it back up now is because lately I have seen in the news that they are in court, and of course they got some issues going on. But as I was looking at his chart a couple of months ago, and I wasn't necessarily looking at the transits that were going on, I was more looking at just his natal chart. I could see that this would be something that could happen in his life. And for some reason, I did not feel like there was closure on this situation between him and Amber Heard. I just felt like something else was going to come up, and look what happened. So I just wanted to share that. And let me share what I found in the chart. Um, so Johnny Depp was born June 9th, 1963. He is an American actor. He also popular in other parts of the world as well, and that's a lot to do with some of his placements in his chart. And where should I start? I'll start briefly on him, and then I'll go into his relationship. So he's 8 degrees Gemini, which is in his 11th house, and he's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is communications, and that means he's a good communicator. And Gemini means twins, so he's very good at dual communicating. He's also good at, which Gemini means multitasking as well. And where it looks like now what's going on in the court, it looks like he's finally being heard and being considered as maybe he is too a victim of this situation, because before it was him being painted as a almost I don't want to use the words, but he was painted as being very dark and destructive. I'll leave it like that. And that reflects a lot with Gemini, that dual light dark, black white, zen, and I forgot the other word, but yeah. So as I'm going through the notes here, which is very interesting, is that his sun, which aspects to Saturn, and Saturn is that planet with the ring around it, which is a hard aspect, because Saturn is to teach you lessons. Saturn is to contract. Saturn is like that stern parent that no matter what you do, you gotta do it right. You could look at Saturn in the sense of Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson's dad. That's how, that disciplinarian, almost to the point where it can feel slightly to the other side of being abusive, but it's definitely stern, strict type of planetary aspect. And no matter where you have it in your chart, it's going to reflect that aspect in your life. So for him, he has Saturn in his 7th house. That is 7th house is partnerships and relationships. I know about that Saturn in the seventh house. But anyway, um, and his Saturn's in Aquarius, which he's going through his Aquarius, his Saturn return. He is 58. You go through it 3 times in your life because it's a 30-year cycle. You go through it at 30, like 29, 30, 31, depending on how long that transit goes. Then you go through it again at his age, which is 58. Is he 58? 1963. I'm sorry. 57. I'm sorry, y'all, with the dates. I have to get the more accuracy about that part, but he is going through another Saturn return, and he's definitely going to face it a little more towards later this year as he goes through Aquarius. Okay, so with that being said, he is it trines his sun, and the masculine polarity, which is sun, is also masculine. Saturn is masculine. His marriage to Amber Heard was public, and there was a huge age difference. So a lot of times people who have Saturn in their seventh house will either be the person who is they will marry someone that's much older, a huge age difference. And for the females, it's usually they will marry an older man. And then for males, if they have it in their placement, a lot of times they will end up, from what it looks like, I'm sorry y'all, these messages, it looks like he would be ending up marrying someone that's much younger than him. And Amber Heard was born in 1986. Her birthday was April 22nd, 1986, according to what they have out there. 1986. Now, around that time, he was already an adult. He was already doing acting on 21 Jump Street, the TV show. So that's interesting that they ended up getting together and getting married. So the partnership, she benefited from the marriage because of his Saturn in the seventh house, because he was already an established actor by the time they met. He has already had many movies under his belt. She was getting into her career and she's more kind of like, I wouldn't say B-list actress, but she's more like unknown actress, known for a few roles, but she didn't have her own at that moment. So her marriage, which is partnership, seventh house, made sense that she benefited more from her marriage to Johnny Depp than he benefited from his marriage to her. And but they, which could be seen as treated marriage like a business. And also too, I'm going to look at some other aspects that are going on in his chart that he's dealing with. And he has Jupiter in Aries in his ninth house, which sextiles his sun in Gemini in the 11th house, which is good because Jupiter is malefic and it's about rewards. Jupiter also have negative aspects as well, but more likely in this aspect is always malefic, which is very healthy, rewarding. And I put on the report that he could do well working overseas as an actor, traveling different projects, or establishing a fan base. He can also do well building wealth in the overseas market, like real estate projects. So maybe that'd be something he could look forward to doing after this fiasco is done regarding his divorce, if he hasn't been doing it already that we don't know about. Another one I saw too is this Pluto. Now, Pluto means transformation, darkness. It's a planet that some people don't even call a planet no more, but in astrological terms, it's still considered a planet. And death, transformation, and in this case, Pluto is in Virgo in the second house, and it squares his sun in Gemini, 11th house. So from what I decipher with that is that he needed to control his finances, earnings, and reputation. He works hard and diligently, sometimes to a point of being a workaholic, perfectionist, and picky. This can also backfire for him as he is seen as aloof, deceptive, and very controlling. Now, that's some of the Gemini negative aspects, which causes a square in his sun and his Pluto. If in marriage or partnership, can fear losing what he worked for. That's the key right there. And my teacher wrote, wow, great insights. I love it. Thank you. But basically, that's what prompted me to do this video, because he is fighting tooth and nail right now to protect his image, to protect his brand. And he fears that he can lose it all. And with him having this square of Pluto in his second house that squares his sun in Gemini in the 11th house, which 11th house means social, public, media, just people, influences. This can really be devastating for him if he was to lose everything. Let's say in the divorce, she gets everything, or he loses stuff that he felt like he worked hard for, and she just benefited off of being his wife. Now, as we heard, stuff is coming out, like the secrets and stuff. And I didn't write this at the time, but because I heard what happened, this can relate to his fourth house, which has Neptune in Scorpio. Ooh, yeah. And that Neptune in Scorpio has a square with the Saturn. Ooh, in the 7th house. So there we go. The illusion. So that illusion can be meaning like, oh, he could be thinking, people can be thinking the worst of him. That's where that bad perception about him abusing her, from what she said. But because it's Neptune in there and it's a Scorpio, basically that could show that may not be the case, because Neptune's about dreams, illusions, and because it has that aspect with the square of his 7th house in marriage and partnerships, and Aquarius, because Aquarius is about people. Let's just say that, oh, and he also has Lilith in there. Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, that's another planet. It's like a feminine energy. And that Lilith in his 4th house, which Lilith is in what sign? Scorpio as well, yep. That Scorpio house in the 4th, whew, it's intense. Meaning that he's going to have some type of drama. If it's not healthy aspect, if it's the dark side. And I can see it right there from what's going on with this court case of her accusing him of all these different things and saying that he's this and that. This can also show too that with that Black Moon Lilith and that Neptune, with that square Saturn 7, he could attract a partner who is narcissistic. And there's been rumors going around in different videos I've seen that she has a tendency, that people are saying that maybe she's narcissistic. Maybe a lot of this stuff has been made up to paint him in a bad light, which, from looking at his chart, could happen. And from me looking at his chart a while ago for my assignment, I had a better understanding of what was going on before I didn't look at his chart. And I was, and I'm not like all into the celebrity's business, personal business, but just hearing what you hear on the news and the media is interesting, because Neptune also rules media as well. And to hear that his 4th house, which means home, which means his past, his childhood, like stuff like that, for all of that to happen, what's happening is in his chart. Now, the benefit of having the sun in his 11th mean that he can really show himself, shine above this, rise above it. He also has Venus in his 10th house along with Mercury in his 10th house, so, and that's in Taurus. So he's going to have a earthly way, a grounding way of communicating with folks and having folks see exactly how he is, and that's what he's doing now. So he made a comment about something she did, which was the last straw of their marriage. So basically he was letting them know, look, I tried to stick this marriage out, but the straw for me was when she did something. If you want to know, you can look it up. I'm not going to repeat it on here, but it was something she did gross. He was like, that's it, I'm getting divorced. That explained the Venus and the Mercury. Mercury's communication. Venus is appearances, love, relationships as well. More so a relationship with yourself. And it can also affect finances as well in certain aspects, depending on where you have that placement. But before I go further into the rabbit hole of this, I just wanted to show that there's more I could pinpoint, but I think I'll just stop here because I basically just wanted to talk about his divorce and what's going on right now, and how it's interesting. I looked at this chart and had compiled this information before, and now it's bringing stuff up to light. So, all right, y'all, this is it. This is for informational purposes only. There could be other interpretations as well, and they're all respectfully what you interpret. But I just want to share that info with you all. All right, take care.